Hey everybody, this is Perch. Well, the news of Dan Slott returning to Spider-Man certainly seemed to get a lot of this audience. I know very, very excited. I could just feel the love and the joy just permeating every pore of. I don't want to go down that path any further. Anyway, responses has been about what you would expect. But granted, that's this channel. I think there are probably other channels where Dan Slott is quite well received, and I think that it's all in the audience. It gets built up. I the one thing I always hope when I do a lot of sarcasm here is that the people who are legit Dan Slott fans and who enjoy reading those comics aren't sitting there going, that's damn dumb asshole. Why is he insulting the writer I like? Because at the end of the day, look, if you like that comic, if you like his writing on Spider-Man, I'm happy for you. I think there is nothing that I want more overall than for people to be married up with the comics they like. That's and maybe that's the retailer in me. That's at the end of the day goal number one. Dan Slott's not my favorite writer on Spider-Man. And the reasons why are I think far more complicated. It's not just the I don't know. It's the way he makes the character seem less. I guess is the best way you put it, or best way I could put it. Peter Parker feels smaller when Dan Slott writes him, and it's not just because Dan Slott's standing next to him. No, it's a cheap shot, cheap shot. But it feels like a diminishing of the character. So even when they do this, Spider-Man's got to triumph and kind of rise above things. It somehow diminishes him. I don't know. I'm probably doing a poor job, but that's not what this video is about anyway. The point of this video is about, sometimes creators come back to their creations. It doesn't happen very often though. And sometimes it happens in kind of a backwards way. Scott Snyder comes back to Batman to do The Last Night on Earth with Greg Capullo, and so you get or you get Death Metal with him and Greg Capullo. So you get these reuniting artistic teams, but it's not like I'm not expecting to click on to Newsarama and see the headline: Scott Snyder returns to Batman. I don't think that's going to happen. I think that would be wildly successful for DC if it did. But the point of this video is really to ask that question, and I'll give a few answers of my own, which are, which creators would you like to see return to their creations? People who have long since walked away. And I know the whole, they told the story they wanted to tell and they're moving on. But you as a fan, as a reader, as a customer, who would you like to see return? I'll tell you, there's been a few. And just recently, Ron Mars back on Silver Surfer, and with Ron Lim as well, was great enjoyment to me. That story did not have any kind of long-term meaningful, nature to it. It's not like it spawns a new kind of universe or anything like that, but I enjoyed it. It made me feel like 30 years ago. It was a good time, and I think it felt like it didn't miss a beat. So I was very, very happy, very pleased with that series. I feel the same way when Jim Starlin returns to Thanos or some of the cosmic characters. It's cliched. I think he's told the stories a million times, but still, I enjoy it every time he goes back to doing something Adam Warlock related or Thanos related. It feels perfect. So what other writers would you like to see return? And I'll give you a few of my own. So because if you listen to this channel for a length of time, that I enjoy it. I would heartily welcome John Byrne returning to Fantastic Four, or barring that, John Byrne on She-Hulk. Although John Byrne on She-Hulk would be fun, and I think I'd appreciate a couple issues of that. I think that could be a fun little limited series. But if John Byrne came back to do a really lengthy, at minimum 2 years, 24 issue, 36 issue run of Fantastic Four, I would be tremendous. I would love to see it. I know John Byrne's older now. I think doing a monthly comic like that is probably not in the cards, but I would deeply enjoy that. I would like to see Jeff Johns do another Green Lantern run. I thought Jeff Johns had a certain magic with Green Lantern. It always worked for me. I'd love to see it. I'd love to see Rachel Pollack. Again, I've mentioned these favorites before. Come back and do more Doom Patrol. I'd rather see Rachel Pollack come back and do it than Grant Morrison, to be perfectly frank. But I'd love to see that again. There's a bunch I would love to see Garth Ennis do some more with the boys. At this point, you gotta also wonder. I mean, the boys is making just tremendous amounts of money in back issues and anything else. I mean, has Nick Bertucci at Dynamite reached out to Garth Ennis and said, "Hey, I understand the whole artistic. You never go back to your creations and everything else, but you set up this entire superhero world. There's plenty more you could do in this universe. Come back and do another 12 issues. It would sell. You just print money at that point, based on where things are at. And I'd like to see it. I like the boys. I thought, there was a lot of crazy ideas going on in there. The TV show. It's interesting. The TV show's in some ways better, in some ways worse. It is definitely more streamlined. It's definitely made for TV, but it also misses some of the pulp magic that the comic book have, and I like that. I'd like to see Garth Ennis back on the Punisher with Steve Dillon. Obviously, that's impossible, but that would also bring great joy to my heart. So I guess I should keep this to things that could realistically actually happen. Things that I wouldn't want to see a return to. And even though I absolutely love him to death, I don't want to see Chris Claremont come back and do the X-Men again. I enjoyed his run. I thought it was great. I thought he was a master storyteller and great at spinning all the different plates and keeping things going. And it was tremendous what he contributed to that title. But in the the Extreme X-Men and some of the things that Claremont has done when he's come back to the books, it hasn't been always great. And I feel like the time that's passed wouldn't be pleasant. And now the X-Men are in such a weird state. I wouldn't necessarily want that anyway. We've talked about on this channel. I liked what Joe Casey did on Superman. I'd like to see some more of that. I think that was one of those ended too short kind of runs. I think to me, there's tons. I'd like to see. I'd be curious. I mean, honestly, actually, to be serious for a minute, with the money that Disney has in Marvel and the ability to kind of go out there, grab premier creators who would not be massively expensive, and then get a set contract format for a 12-issue run. Bring Walt Simonson back on Thor for 12 issues. And if you don't want to interrupt what Donny Cates is doing, fine. Just do 12 issues, Walt Simonson, and call it like Legends Return, or I don't know, whatever you want to do, whatever marketing you want to put behind it. But put out a 12-issue run in a graphic novel, and certain creators would sell like crazy. I think if you could get, frankly, it wouldn't work with, of course, the sad passing of George Perez, but if you get Kurt Busiek and maybe partner him up with Alan Davis and put him on Avengers for another kind of, come back to that title and tell a 12-issue story, I'd like to see that. I'd like to see some of these creators return. I don't think, a lot of YouTube channels talk about just, bringing back all of the old guard and dumping kind of all the new. I don't want to dump all the new. I just think with 80 titles that you're doing a month, you could spare a couple to have some of these creators, pay big money, have them come back. Give Frank Miller some money, have him come back and do something on Daredevil, or even better, put Ann Nocenti on that title. Put Ann Nocenti on that title with John Romita Jr. He's in your company now. That would be a fun return. I'd like to see what that looks like. I think that there's a number of cases like this. But those are some of the ones I was thinking of. And I don't think there's anything wrong with going back to your creation. That's one of the things that kind of aggravates me about comics and about, working with artists and talking to artists, is that there's often this feeling like, if you go back, you're going to sell out. Well, if you did Marvel work in the first place, you already sold out. So, I mean, I don't know it's not like it doesn't matter now. So I go ahead and cash that check. Hell, get some of that money. It would be a great ride for the fans, for the customers, to get that, get those feelings again, get some of these classic creators back on books. So I'd love to see it. And so the question goes out to you. Who do you want to see return? I'm sure I missed several people in the mix. Guaranteed, but everyone has their own personal taste. So who do you want to see return? And in many ways, this is a video for another time, but if we were going to make the entire question more complicated, what if we said, you have to work with the creators of today. Where do you put them? All right, so Tom King has to go on something. What's he going to do? Brian Michael Bendis, got to put him on something. Do you put Brian Michael Bendis back on a new Avengers book or an Illuminati book or a Daredevil book? Where do you put Bendis? I mean, I think I'd love to see some of these experiments. So let me know, classic creators, who do you want to see do a reunion tour? Who do you want to see do a return? What would be that project that would definitely cause you to take out your wallet and immediately put that cash down on the table? Who is it? Let me know in the comments below. Like and subscribe, of course, and thanks for listening.